The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across the mahogany table as I sat there, knowing full well this engagement dinner was nothing more than an elaborate execution. Howard Blackwood, my fiancé's father, raised his champagne flute with the practiced grace of old money, his steel-gray eyes fixed on me like a hawk spotting prey. "To my daughter, Cora," he began, his voice carrying that particular New England aristocratic drawl that made every word sound like a judgment. "And to her, interesting choice in companions." The 20-odd guests, all from Cora's world of country clubs and trust funds, tittered politely. I felt their eyes on me, assessing my off-the-rack suit, my calloused hands, my everything that screamed working class in their pristine bubble. "Tom here," Howard continued, savoring each word like fine wine, "has certainly shown us all what determination can accomplish. Why, just last month he convinced my daughter to invest in his little carpentry venture. Quite the entrepreneur, aren't you, Tom?" Cora squeezed my hand under the table, but her smile was strained. She knew what was coming. Hell, we all did. "Of course." Howard's voice dropped to a theatrical whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the room. Some might call such behavior opportunistic, gold-digging, if you will. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Cora did something that would haunt my dreams for months afterward. She laughed. Not a nervous giggle or an uncomfortable chuckle, but a full-throated laugh that joined the chorus of her father's cronies. I sat there for exactly 10 seconds, watching the woman I thought I loved participate in my public humiliation. Then I stood, pulled the engagement ring from my pocket, the one I'd been planning to surprise her with during dessert, and placed it gently beside her wine glass. "Thank you for the clarification," I said, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. "I was confused about my place here, but you've made it crystal clear." The room went nuclear quiet. Howard's triumphant smile faltered slightly. "Tom, don't be so sensitive," Cora started, but I was already walking toward the door. "Enjoy your dinner," I called over my shoulder. "And Cora, good luck finding someone who actually loves you instead of your father's bank account." That was 6 months ago. Now I'm sitting in my cramped apartment above Murphy's hardware store, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looks remarkably like Howard Blackwood's smug face. The irony isn't lost on me. They called me a gold digger, but I'm the one living in squalor, while Cora's architectural firm climbs to new heights. My phone buzzes. A text from my sister Jenna. "Saw the announcement in the paper. Cora and Miles are engaged. Thought you should know." Miles Patterson, Cora's business partner, Harvard-educated, trust fund baby who drives a Tesla and has never worked a day of actual labor in his privileged life. Of course, she'd end up with him. Birds of a feather and all that. But here's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. You learn to pay attention. You notice things. Like how Miles always found excuses to touch Cora's shoulder during firm meetings. How they'd exchange glances when they thought no one was looking. How their late-night project sessions became more frequent right around the time Cora started pulling away from me. I grab my jacket and head downstairs to Murphy's bar. The old man keeps a bottle of decent whiskey behind the counter for occasions like this. The place smells like sawdust and disappointment, which suits my mood perfectly. "Rough day?" Murphy asks, sliding a glass across the scarred wooden bar. "Rough 6 months," I correct, downing the whiskey in one burning gulp. But I'm starting to think things are about to get interesting. Murphy raises an eyebrow but doesn't press. He's good people. One of the few in this town who didn't treat me like a pariah after the engagement dinner incident. "You know what they say about revenge," he offers, refilling my glass. "That it's a dish best served cold?" I ask. "Nah," Murphy grins, showing teeth stained by decades of coffee and cigarettes. "That it's best served with proper planning." I'm about to respond when my phone rings. Unknown number, but I recognize the slurred voice immediately. It's Jake Morrison, one of Miles's drinking buddies from the country club. Tom Brennan? Listen, man, I'm wasted, but I gotta tell someone. Miles has been bragging all night about how he stole your girl. Says he's been with her since before you two got engaged. Says your investment money is the only thing keeping Blackwood Development afloat, and once they're married, they'll find a way to... The line goes quiet. Probably passed out or someone took the phone away. But I heard enough. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I set the phone down carefully, my mind already racing. So Miles and Cora were together before the engagement dinner. My investment, the $20,000 I'd scraped together from years of side jobs and careful saving, wasn't just supporting my carpentry business. It was propping up Howard's failing development company. Murphy, I say, standing up and leaving a 20 on the bar, do you still have that friend who works security at the country club? Yeah. Why? I need to know Miles Patterson's schedule, specifically when he'll be there alone. Murphy studies my face for a long moment, then nods slowly. I'll make some calls. 3 days later, I'm sitting in my beat-up Ford pickup across from the Millbrook Country Club, watching Miles emerge from his Tesla like some kind of golden god. The parking lot is mostly empty. Tuesday afternoon golf isn't popular with the trust fund crowd. I wait until he's inside, then walk over to his precious car. The Tesla gleams like a jewel under the autumn sun, all sleek lines and environmental superiority. I pull out my utility knife, the same one I use for precision cuts in my carpentry work, and methodically puncture each tire. Not slashing, that would be too obvious, too emotional. Just careful, precise holes that will leave him stranded but won't trigger the security camera's motion sensors. I slide a note under his windshield wiper. You're next. The gold digger. Then I walk back to my truck and drive away, feeling lighter than I have in months. The next morning, Jenna calls with news that makes my coffee taste like victory. Tom, you need to see the business section. Blackwood Development just lost their major investor. Anonymous withdrawal, effective immediately. Howard's scrambling to find new funding, and word is he's desperate. I smile, thinking about the certified letter I'd sent yesterday, formally requesting the return of my investment. All perfectly legal, all perfectly timed. Interesting, I tell Jenna. I wonder what could have prompted such a sudden change of heart. Tom? My sister's voice carries a warning. What are you planning? Nothing illegal, I assure her. Just evening the playing field. The beauty of being dismissed as harmless is that people stop watching you. They assume you'll slink away, lick your wounds, maybe move to another town where nobody knows about your public humiliation. What they don't expect is for you to stick around and start paying attention. I've spent the last month doing exactly that. Watching, learning, planning. My carpentry business gives me the perfect cover. Nobody suspects the guy installing crown molding of conducting surveillance, and wealthy people love to gossip in front of the help. That's how I learned about Cora's little problem. I'm replacing kitchen cabinets for the Hendersons, old money family who golf with the Blackwoods, when Mrs. Henderson gets a call that she takes on speaker, assuming I'm too busy with my power drill to eavesdrop. Margaret, you simply won't believe what I heard at the club, the voice crackles through the phone. That architect girl, Cora Blackwood, apparently there's some issue with missing funds at her firm. Nothing proven, mind you, but whispers about discrepancies in project budgets. My drill goes quiet. Mrs. Henderson doesn't notice. She's too engrossed in the gossip. Well, I always said there was something calculating about that girl. Remember how she treated that carpenter fellow? What was his name? Tom something? Tom Brennan, Mrs. Henderson supplies helpfully. Poor man. Though between you and me, I always thought he was too good for her. I file away this unexpected character reference and focus on the important part, missing funds. Combined with what Jake Morrison drunkenly revealed about Miles's gambling debts, a picture starts forming. That evening, I call Jenna from the parking lot of the Riverside Diner, one of the few places in town where I won't run into Cora's crowd. I need a favor, I tell her when she picks up. You still have contacts at the courthouse? Tom, I'm a crime reporter. Of course I have courthouse contacts. What are you looking for? Public records, business filings, permit applications, anything involving Blackwood Development, Cora's firm, and Miles Patterson. This is about revenge, isn't it? I watch a family through the diner window. Father, mother, 2 kids sharing a plate of fries. Normal people living normal lives, unaware of the chess game being played in their sleepy New England town. This is about truth, I correct. They painted me as a gold digger, Jenna. Turns out they're the ones with their hands in everyone else's pockets. She sighs, but I can hear her keyboard already clicking. Give me 48 hours. While I wait for Jenna's research, I decide to test the waters. The annual Millbrook Education Gala is this Saturday, black tie affair where the town's elite pretend to care about underfunded schools while writing tax-deductible checks. Normally, I'd avoid such events like the plague, but this year I have a reason to attend. I rent a decent tuxedo and buy a ticket. $50 I can barely afford, but worth it for what I have planned. The gala is held at the Lakeside Manor, a restored Victorian mansion that overlooks Millbrook Lake. I arrive fashionably late, after the cocktail hour has loosened tongues and lowered guards. The ballroom buzzes with conversation and clinking glasses. I spot Cora immediately. She's wearing a stunning red dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, standing next to Miles, who looks like he stepped out of a magazine. They're surrounded by admirers, basking in congratulations about their engagement. I grab a whiskey from the bar and position myself near the silent auction tables, close enough to observe but far enough to avoid immediate detection. Tom Brennan, as I live and breathe. I turn to find Sloane Morrison, Jake's wife and Cora's self-appointed best friend. She's had enough champagne to make her eyes bright and her smile just a little too wide. Sloane, I nod politely. Lovely event. Oh, it is, isn't it? Though I have to say, some of us were surprised to see you here, after everything that happened. She lets the sentence hang, fishing for a reaction. Sloane has always been the type who feeds on drama, collecting secrets like some people collect stamps. Ancient history, I say with a shrug. Besides, education is important, even for us working folks. Her laugh is sharp as broken glass. Well, aren't you gracious? I'm sure Cora will be pleased to see you've moved on so well. Before I can respond, the lights dim and Mayor Davidson takes the podium to begin the evening's program. After the usual political pleasantries and fundraising pitches, he opens the floor for community members to speak about education's impact on their lives. This is my moment. I make my way to the microphone, ignoring the whispers that follow me across the room. From the corner of my eye, I see Cora's face go pale. Good evening, I begin, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system. For those who don't know me, I'm Tom Brennan. I run a small carpentry business here in town, and I'm a proud graduate of Millbrook High School. Polite applause, though I notice several people shifting uncomfortably. Education gave me the foundation I needed to build a life for myself, I continue. It taught me valuable lessons about integrity, hard work, and the importance of surrounding yourself with honest people. The applause is more scattered now. People are starting to sense where this is going. Of course, education doesn't end in the classroom. Life has a way of teaching us things we never expected to learn, like how to recognize when someone is using you, how to spot the difference between love and manipulation, how to identify people who talk about values they don't actually possess. The room is completely quiet now, except for the gentle lapping of lake water against the manor's dock outside. But perhaps the most valuable lesson life has taught me is this. Sometimes the people who call you a gold digger are just upset that you found their fool's gold first. I step back from the microphone to a mixture of gasps, nervous laughter, and, from the catering staff lined along the walls, genuine applause. As I walk toward the exit, I catch Miles's eye and offer him a small salute. His face is red with anger and embarrassment, but he's too much of a coward to confront me publicly. Outside, the cool October air feels like freedom. My phone buzzes with a text from Jenna. "Got your research. You're going to want to see this. Meet me at the diner in an hour." I'm walking to my truck when I hear footsteps behind me. I turn to find Cora, having traded her heels for bare feet, her red dress hiked up to navigate the gravel parking lot. "That was quite a performance," she says, slightly out of breath. "Just sharing my educational journey," I reply, unlocking my truck door. "Tom, we need to talk." "Do we? Because I seem to remember the last time we talked, you found my conversation so amusing you couldn't stop laughing." She flinches at the reminder. "That wasn't—" "I was nervous. Daddy put me in an impossible position." "And Miles? Was he an impossible position too?" Her silence is answer enough. "Here's the thing, Cora," I say, climbing into my truck. "You taught me something valuable that night. You showed me exactly who you really are. And now I'm going to return the favor." I drive away, leaving her standing alone in the parking lot, probably for the first time in her privileged life. At the diner, Jenna has spread documents across our corner booth like a detective in a crime movie. Her dark hair is pulled back in a messy bun, and her eyes have that gleam they get when she's on to a big story. "Tom, this is bigger than we thought," she says, before I've even sat down. "Miles Patterson isn't just gambling, he's in deep with some very unpleasant people, and guess who's been covering his debts?" She slides a bank statement across the table. It's Cora's business account, showing regular large withdrawals over the past 8 months. "She's been embezzling from her own firm to pay his gambling debts," Jenna continues. "But here's the really interesting part. Look at this." Another document, this one showing property transfers. Miles has been using inside information from Cora's firm to make side deals on development projects. They bid low, get the contract, then inflate costs and pocket the difference. I study the papers, my carpenter's mind automatically calculating angles and measurements. This is enough to destroy both of them professionally. "Gets better," Jenna grins. "Guess who's been helping coordinate the social campaign against you?" She slides across a printed email chain. The sender is Sloan Morrison, and the subject line reads, "Tom Brennan problem, coordinated response." I scan the messages, my anger building with each line. Sloan has been orchestrating a systematic campaign to isolate me socially, spreading rumors about my finances, my character, even my professional competence. "Why?" I ask. "What did I ever do to Sloan?" "Remember 3 years ago when you turned down that renovation job for the Morrisons? You said you were too busy, but Jake told people you called their design pretentious garbage." I do remember. The Morrisons wanted me to install gold-plated bathroom fixtures and a wine cellar that would have cost more than most people's houses. I'd been diplomatic in my refusal, but apparently not diplomatic enough. So, this whole thing, Cora, Miles, the social ostracism, it's all because Sloan Morrison has been nursing a grudge for 3 years? Looks like it. She's been playing puppet master and everyone else has been dancing to her tune. I lean back in the booth, processing this information. The scope of the conspiracy is almost impressive in its pettiness. "What are you going to do?" Jenna asks. I gather up the documents and slide them into a manila envelope. I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve, but first, I need to make a house call. Miles Patterson lives in a converted warehouse loft downtown, the kind of place that screams, "I'm too cool for suburban mansions," while costing twice as much. The building has the sort of security that keeps out casual intruders, but means nothing to someone who understands how locks actually work. I learned lock-picking in high school, back when I thought I might become a locksmith instead of a carpenter. Funny how skills you never expect to use again suddenly become relevant. It's 2 a.m. on a Wednesday when I slip into Miles's building through the service entrance. The security cameras have convenient blind spots, another advantage of working construction jobs throughout the city. you learn the weaknesses in every system. His loft is on the 4th floor, and his door has one of those electronic locks that rich people think makes them safe. What they don't realize is that most electronic locks have manual overrides, and if you know where to look. The lock clicks open with a soft whisper. Inside, Miles's loft is exactly what I expected. Exposed brick walls, expensive furniture that looks uncomfortable, and abstract art that probably costs more than my truck. Everything is pristine, organized, perfect. It's about to become significantly less so. I start in the kitchen, methodically emptying every container into the sink. Flour, sugar, coffee, cereal, all of it goes down the drain in a gritty, expensive mess. Then I move to the living room, where I rearrange his furniture into a configuration that makes the space unusable. Not damaged, just wrong. But the real masterpiece is in the bathroom. Miles has one of those ridiculous infinity hot tubs, the kind that probably cost 20 grand and gets used twice a year. I mix up a batch of quick-setting concrete using supplies from my truck, then pour it into the tub until it's filled to the brim. While the concrete sets, I use his own printer to create a sign. Next time, it's your career. I place it on his pillow, along with a Polaroid photo of the engagement ring floating in the concrete tub. I'm back in my truck and halfway home before my phone buzzes with a text to Miles from an unknown number. Me, using a burner phone. Hope you enjoyed your swim. The Gold Digger. The next morning, I'm installing baseboards at the Hendersons' house when my regular phone starts ringing nonstop. I ignore it until Mrs. Henderson mentions that her neighbor saw police cars at that young man's building downtown. Which young man? I ask innocently. Miles Patterson. You know, Cora Blackwood's fiancé? Apparently someone broke into his apartment and made quite a mess. Though between you and me, she lowers her voice conspiratorially, I heard there was no actual break-in, just mischief. I nod sympathetically while internally celebrating. No break-in means no crime, just trespassing at worst, and good luck proving that without witnesses or fingerprints. My phone buzzes with a text from Jenna. Whatever you did, it worked. Miles filed a police report, but they're treating it as a prank. Also, word is spreading about his gambling debts. Someone leaked bank records to the country club board. I smile, thinking about the anonymous package I'd mailed yesterday. Sometimes the truth just needs a little help finding its way to the right people. That afternoon, I decide to pay a visit to Blackwood Development. Howard's office is in one of those glass towers that sprouted up during the tech boom, all clean lines and expensive views. I dress in my best work clothes and carry a clipboard, the universal key to getting into places you don't belong. The receptionist barely glances at me. Maintenance inspection, I mumble, and she waves me toward the elevators. Howard's office is on the 15th floor, and through his glass walls, I can see him on the phone, gesturing frantically. His usually perfect silver hair is disheveled, and there are coffee stains on his shirt. The man who humiliated me 6 months ago looks like he hasn't slept in days. I don't go in, just stand in the hallway, close enough to hear fragments of his conversation through the thin walls. Need more time. Investor pulled out unexpectedly. Yes, I understand the deadline. He hangs up and immediately dials another number. Cora, we need to talk. The Patterson situation is becoming a problem. If the club board starts asking questions about his debts, what do you mean you don't have access to those funds anymore? This is better than I hoped. Not only are they scrambling financially, but they're starting to turn on each other. I take the elevator down and walk out through the lobby, nodding politely to the receptionist who still hasn't looked up from her magazine. That evening, I meet Jenna at O'Malley's Pub, a dive bar on the wrong side of town where none of Cora's crowd would be caught breathing. The place smells like stale beer and broken dreams, which makes it perfect for planning the next phase of my campaign. I've been digging deeper into the Sloan connection, Jenna says, sliding a folder across the sticky table. It gets worse. She's not just spreading rumors about you. She's been actively sabotaging your business. She shows me printed emails between Sloan and several potential clients, all dated from the past few months. In them, Sloan poses as a concerned friend, warning people about my financial problems and questionable work quality. Mrs. Chen was going to hire you for her kitchen renovation, Jenna explains. Sloan convinced her you were unreliable. Same with the Johnsons, the Kellys, and at least 6 other jobs you bid on. I feel that familiar rage building in my chest. The same anger that's been driving me for months, refined now into something cold and purposeful. There's more, Jenna continues. I think Sloan has been blackmailing Cora. She shows me phone records obtained through her courthouse contacts. Look at the call patterns. Every time Cora makes a large withdrawal to cover Miles's debts, she gets a call from Sloan within 24 hours. Blackmail about what? I'm not sure yet, but I have a theory. Remember how quickly Cora's career took off after you two started dating? New clients, high-profile projects, connections she shouldn't have had access to? I nod, remembering how proud I'd been of her success. What if she was cutting corners, using inside information, maybe bribing inspectors? Sloan has connections throughout the city government through her husband's law practice. She would have been in a position to know about any irregularities. The pieces are starting to fit together. Sloan hasn't just been orchestrating my downfall. She's been pulling strings behind the scenes for years, collecting leverage on everyone in her social circle. So what's the endgame? I ask. Power, Jenna says simply. Sloan Morrison wants to be the queen bee of Millbrook society, and she's been systematically destroying anyone who threatens that position. I drain my beer and stand up. Then it's time to knock her off her throne. Tom, what are you planning? A family reunion, I say. It's time for all the players to get together and compare notes. The next day, I send identical messages to Cora, Miles, and Sloan. Riverside Warehouse, Friday, 8 p.m. Come alone. Time to settle accounts. Tom. The Riverside Warehouse is a relic from Millbrook's industrial past, abandoned when the textile mills closed in the 1980s. It's the perfect location for what I have planned. Isolated, spacious, and full of shadows. I spend Thursday preparing the space, setting up battery-powered lights and positioning chairs in a rough circle. I also install several small cameras connected to a wireless transmitter that will broadcast everything to Jenna's laptop. Friday evening arrives gray and drizzly, the kind of weather that makes everything look like a noir movie. I arrive early and wait in the shadows, watching as my guests arrive one by one. Cora comes first, looking nervous but determined. She's traded her usual designer clothes for jeans and a sweater, probably trying to seem more relatable. Miles arrives 10 minutes later in his rental car, since his Tesla is still in the shop getting new tires. Sloan is the last to arrive, and she's brought backup, her husband Jake, looking uncomfortable but loyal. Well, I say, stepping into the light, isn't this cozy? The gang's all here? Tom, Cora starts, but I hold up a hand. No, you had your chance to talk 6 months ago. Tonight, you listen. I walk to the center of the circle, feeling like a prosecutor addressing a jury. Let's start with you, Miles. How much do you owe the Torino family? 50,000? 100? Must be getting hard to sleep at night, knowing what happens to people who default on gambling debts. Miles goes pale. How did you know about your little problem? Same way I know about the project kickbacks, the inflated invoices, and the creative accounting that's been keeping you afloat. I turn to Cora. And you, my dear ex-fiancé, did you really think embezzling from your own firm was a sustainable business model? Or were you just hoping to stay ahead of the auditors long enough to marry Miles and make it his problem? Cora's composure cracks. You don't understand the pressure. Oh, I understand pressure, I interrupt. I understand being called a gold digger in front of 20 people. I understand having my reputation destroyed by whispers and lies. I understand watching my business dry up because someone decided I was a threat. Finally, I turn to Sloan, who's been trying to look innocent throughout this exchange. But you, Sloan, you're the real artist here. Playing puppet master, pulling strings, collecting secrets like trading cards. Tell me, how long have you been blackmailing Cora? Since the beginning, or did you wait until she was in too deep to climb out? Sloane's mask finally slips. You arrogant piece of trash. You think you can come into our world and… Your world, I laugh. Lady, your husband is a small-town lawyer and you organize charity luncheons. You're not royalty. You're just a bored housewife with delusions of grandeur. Jake Morrison looks like he wants to disappear into the concrete floor. Sloan, what is he talking about? Before she can answer, I pull out copies of the documents Jenna gathered and toss them on the floor between us. Bank records showing Cora's embezzlement, phone logs proving Sloane's blackmail scheme, email chains documenting the campaign to destroy my reputation, financial records showing Miles' gambling debts and the money laundering operation they've been running through Blackwood Development. The silence that follows is broken only by the sound of rain pattering against the warehouse windows. Here's what's going to happen, I continue. Cora, you're going to confess to your firm's board about the missing funds and resign. Miles, you're going to pay back every penny you owe, starting with my $20,000 investment. And Sloan. I save the best for last. Sloan, you're going to call every person you've spread lies to and set the record straight. Then you're going to withdraw from every social organization, every charity board, every position of influence you've wormed your way into. And if we refuse? Miles asks, trying to sound defiant. I smile and point to one of the cameras. Then tomorrow morning, every news outlet in the state gets copies of everything, along with video of tonight's little confession session. You're recording this? Cora gasps. Smile for the camera, I say. Though I have to say, you all look a little pale on screen. That's when Sloan snaps. You miserable little nobody, she screams, lunging toward me. You think you can threaten us? We'll destroy you. We'll make sure you never work in this town again. Jake grabs his wife's arm, but she shakes him off. Tell them, Cora. Tell them how you really feel about your precious Tom. Tell them what you said about him after the engagement dinner. Cora looks stricken. Sloan, don't… She called you pathetic, Sloan shrieks. Said you were nothing but a charity case she kept around for entertainment. Said she was embarrassed to be seen with you. The warehouse goes quiet, except for Sloane's heavy breathing and the sound of rain. I look at Cora, who can't meet my eyes. Is that true? Her silence is answer enough. Well, I say quietly, I guess that settles it. I walk over to my laptop and hit a key. Jenna, did you get all that? My sister's voice crackles through the speakers. Every word, Tom. Should I start uploading to the news sites? Not yet, I say. Let's give our friends here a chance to do the right thing. They have until Monday morning to start making amends. After that, I shrug and close the laptop. One by one, they file out of the warehouse, leaving me alone with the ghosts of Millbrook's industrial past and the satisfaction of a job well done. But this is just the beginning. Monday morning arrives with the kind of crisp October clarity that makes everything seem sharper, more defined. I'm installing kitchen cabinets for the Hendersons when my phone starts buzzing with notifications. Text after text, call after call, all with variations of the same message. Did you see the news? I excuse myself and step outside to check the local paper's website. The headline makes me smile. Local architect resigns amid financial irregularities. Cora kept her word. The article is brief but damning. She's resigned from her firm effective immediately, citing personal financial decisions that compromised professional judgment. Reading between the lines, anyone in the business community will understand what really happened. My phone rings. It's Jenna. Tom, you need to see this. Sloan Morrison just posted a Facebook rant that's going viral. She's completely lost it. I pull up Facebook on my phone and find Sloan's page. Her latest post is a rambling, incoherent screed about social climbing opportunists, and ungrateful charity cases. She's tagged half the town, including me, and the comments section is already filling up with people pointing out how unhinged she sounds. She's doing our work for us, I tell Jenna. Nothing destroys credibility faster than a public meltdown. There's more. Miles Patterson was arrested this morning. That stops me cold. Arrested for what? Turns out those gambling debts were worse than we thought. The FBI has been investigating the Torino family's money laundering operation, and Miles was one of their biggest clients. When he couldn't pay, he started washing money through construction projects to cover the interest. I lean against my truck, processing this information. I'd wanted to destroy Miles professionally, but this goes way beyond anything I'd planned. Tom, you still there? Yeah, just... Wow. I knew he was in deep but federal charges. Gets better. Howard Blackwood was arrested too. Apparently, he knew about the money laundering and was taking a cut in exchange for using his development projects as fronts. The scope of the collapse is staggering. In less than 72 hours, the entire power structure that humiliated me has crumbled. Cora's career is over, Miles is facing federal prison time, Howard's business empire is finished, and Sloane has destroyed her own reputation with her social media tantrum. What about Jake Morrison? I ask. Clean, as far as anyone can tell. He filed for divorce this morning. Apparently he had no idea what his wife was doing. I feel a twinge of sympathy for Jake. He's a decent guy who got caught up in his wife's schemes. Tom, Jenna's voice carries a note of concern. You need to be careful. Desperate people do stupid things, and right now, you're the only target they have left. She's right, of course. I've been so focused on executing my plan that I haven't thought about the aftermath. These people have lost everything, and they blame me for it. I finish the Henderson job and head home, taking a circuitous route through side streets. Call it paranoia, but something feels off. Too many cars in my rearview mirror, too many coincidences. My apartment building looks normal from the outside, but when I reach my door, I notice scratches around the lock, fresh ones. I pull out my phone and call the police, then wait in the hallway until Officer Martinez arrives. He's a good cop, one of the few who treated me fairly during the warehouse incident investigation. Looks like someone tried to pick your lock, he confirms after examining the door. Want to check inside? We enter carefully, Martinez leading with his hand on his weapon. The apartment has been tossed, not violently but thoroughly. Drawers pulled out, cushions moved, papers scattered. Someone was looking for something specific. Any idea what they might have wanted? Martinez asks. I survey the damage, mentally cataloging what's missing. My laptop's gone, and the file cabinet where I kept business records. You think this is connected to the Morrison-Patterson situation? Has to be. They're looking for evidence, trying to figure out how much I know. Martinez nods grimly. I'll file a report, but honestly, without witnesses or prints, there's not much we can do. You might want to stay somewhere else for a few days. After he leaves, I pack a bag and drive to Jenna's house across town. She lives in a modest ranch-style place with good sightlines and nosy neighbors. Not the kind of place someone would attempt anything stupid. They're getting desperate, she says after I explain what happened. Good. Desperate people make mistakes. Tom, I'm serious. Maybe it's time to back off. Let the legal system handle things. I understand her concern, but she doesn't get it. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about finishing what they started. They wanted to destroy me completely, and when that failed, they escalated to breaking and entering. Now it's personal in a way it wasn't before. One more play, I tell her, then it's over. The annual Millbrook Harvest Festival is this weekend. 3 days of food trucks, craft vendors, and small-town charm that draws visitors from across New England. It's also the biggest social event of the year, where reputations are made and broken in front of hundreds of witnesses. I spend Tuesday and Wednesday preparing for what will be my final move in this chess game. The festival organizers are always looking for volunteers, and my carpentry skills make me valuable for setup and breakdown. Nobody questions why I'm spending so much time around the main stage. Thursday night, I'm making final adjustments to the sound system when I spot a familiar figure lurking near the equipment tent. Sloane Morrison, looking haggard and desperate, trying to blend into the shadows. I pretend not to see her and continue working, but I can feel her watching me. When I finish and head toward my truck, she follows at a distance. "Tom Brennan." I turn to find her standing under a streetlight, her usually perfect hair disheveled, her clothes wrinkled. She looks like she hasn't slept in days. "Sloane, you look like someone who's been posting unhinged rants on social media." "You destroyed my life," she says, her voice shaking with rage. "Everything I worked for, everything I built, gone because of you." "Actually, it's gone because of you. I just helped people see who you really are." She takes a step closer, and I notice her hands are shaking. "You don't understand what you've done. Jake left me. My friends won't return my calls. The country club revoked my membership." "Sounds like consequences," I say. "Novel concept, I know." "I can ruin you," she hisses. "I have connections, resources." "Had," I correct. Past tense. "Face it, Sloane, you're finished. The question is whether you're going to accept that gracefully or keep digging yourself deeper." She stares at me for a long moment, then turns and walks away without another word. But something in her eyes tells me this isn't over. Friday morning, the festival opens with the usual fanfare. Mayor Davidson cuts a ribbon, the high school marching band plays, and vendors hawk everything from kettle corn to handmade jewelry. I work the morning shift setting up additional booths, keeping my head down and my ears open. The gossip mill is in full swing. Everyone's talking about the arrests, the resignations, the dramatic collapse of some of Millbrook's most prominent families. I hear my name mentioned more than once, usually in the context of that carpenter who exposed the whole thing. Around noon, I take a break and grab lunch from one of the food trucks. I'm sitting at a picnic table, enjoying a pulled pork sandwich, when Cora appears across from me. She looks different, older somehow. The confidence that always surrounded her like armor has been stripped away, leaving someone who seems smaller, more fragile. "Hello, Tom." "Cora." I don't invite her to sit, but she does anyway. "I suppose you're satisfied now," she says. "Are you here to apologize? Because if so, you're about 6 months too late." She flinches. "I know I hurt you. I know what I did at that dinner was unforgivable." "Which part? Laughing at your father's insults or calling me pathetic behind my back?" "Both. All of it." She looks down at her hands. "I was scared, Tom. Scared of disappointing Daddy. Scared of what people would think. Scared of choosing love over status. And now? Now I have neither." Her laugh is bitter. "Turns out when you choose status over everything else, you end up with nothing when the status disappears." I take another bite of my sandwich, letting her sit with that realization. "I loved you," she says quietly. "Maybe not enough, maybe not the right way, but I did love you." "I know," I reply. "That's what made it hurt so much." We sit in silence for a moment, watching families enjoy the festival around us. "What happens now?" she asks. "Now you figure out who you are when you're not Howard Blackwood's daughter or Miles Patterson's fiancée. Maybe you'll like that person better." She nods and stands to leave, then pauses. "Tom, be careful this weekend. Sloane's been saying things, making threats. I don't think she's stable." After she leaves, I finish my lunch and head back to work. The afternoon passes quickly. More booth setup, sound checks for tonight's entertainment, the usual festival chaos. I'm coiling cables behind the main stage when I notice someone has tampered with the electrical panel. The modifications are subtle but dangerous, loose connections that could cause a short circuit. potentially starting a fire or electrocuting someone. This isn't vandalism, it's sabotage designed to hurt people. I immediately find the festival coordinator and explain the situation. Within an hour, the fire marshal has shut down the main stage area and called in an electrician to make repairs. Any idea who might have done this? The fire marshal asks. I have a pretty good idea, but no proof. Could have been anyone with basic electrical knowledge and access to the area. That evening, I'm having dinner at Jenna's house when my phone rings. Unknown number, but I recognize the voice immediately. You think you're so smart. Sloane's voice is slurred, probably from alcohol or prescription medication. Shutting down the stage, playing hero. But I'm not done with you. Sloane, where are you? Somewhere you'll never find me, but don't worry. Tomorrow, everyone will see what you really are. The line goes quiet. I immediately call Officer Martinez and report the threatening call, but there's not much he can do without knowing Sloane's location. We'll increase patrols around the festival, he promises, and we'll put out a bolo for her car. Saturday dawns gray and overcast, with the kind of humidity that promises afternoon thunderstorms. The festival continues despite yesterday's electrical problems, though security has been increased and the main stage remains closed. I'm working crowd control near the entrance when I spot Jake Morrison walking through the gates. He looks exhausted but determined, scanning the crowd like he's searching for someone. Jake? I call out, walking over to him. Everything okay? Have you seen Sloane? He asks. She didn't come home last night and her car's missing. She called me yesterday evening. Sounded unstable. Jake's shoulders slump. I know you probably hate her, hate both of us, but she's sick, Tom. Really sick. The stress, the public humiliation, losing everything. I think she's having some kind of breakdown. Despite everything Sloane has done to me, I feel a flash of sympathy for Jake. Whatever his wife's crimes, he's clearly still trying to protect her. We'll find her, I tell him. The police are looking and... My words are cut off by screaming from the direction of the craft vendors. People are running, pointing toward a column of smoke rising from the far end of the festival grounds. Jake and I run toward the commotion, pushing through panicked crowds. When we reach the source of the smoke, we find one of the vendor booths engulfed in flames. The fire department is already on scene, but the booth, a display of handmade quilts and crafts, is a total loss. Anyone hurt? I ask one of the firefighters. No injuries, but it was close. If Mrs. Patterson hadn't spotted the fire when she did... Mrs. Patterson, the elderly woman who runs the quilting circle, is sitting on a nearby bench, looking shaken, but unharmed. I saw someone running away right after the fire started, she tells Officer Martinez. A woman with blonde hair driving a blue sedan. Jake and I exchange glances. Sloane drives a blue Honda Civic. This is escalating fast, Jake says. She's going to hurt someone. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Having fun yet? The real show starts at 8 p.m. Main stage. Come alone, or people get hurt. Your biggest fan. I show the message to Officer Martinez, who immediately radios for backup and starts coordinating an evacuation of the festival grounds. We're shutting this down, he tells me. Too dangerous to continue. No, I say, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. That's what she wants. Chaos, panic, people getting hurt in the rush to leave. Let me handle this. Tom, you're not a cop. This is a job for professionals. She's not interested in professionals. She wants me, and she's willing to hurt innocent people to get my attention. If I don't show up, she'll escalate again. Martinez looks like he wants to argue, but another call comes over his radio. A suspicious fire at the elementary school, just a few blocks from the festival. Sloane is making good on her threat to hurt people. Fine, he says. But you wear a wire, and we have snipers positioned around the stage area. At 7:45 p.m., I walk toward the main stage area, now empty except for security personnel hidden in strategic locations. The stage itself is still cordoned off from yesterday's electrical sabotage, but someone has clearly been working on it. I can see fresh modifications to the sound system. Sloane emerges from behind the stage at exactly 8 p.m., looking like a different person from the polished socialite I've known for years. Her hair is wild, her clothes are stained with smoke and dirt, and her eyes have the unfocused gleam of someone who's completely lost touch with reality. "Tom Brennan," she says, her voice echoing through the wireless microphone clipped to her shirt. "The man who destroyed everything. Sloane, you need help. Let me call Jake, get you to a hospital." "No!" she screams. "No more lies, no more pretending. Tonight, everyone learns the truth about precious Tom Brennan." She gestures toward the stage, where I now notice she's set up some kind of display. Photographs, documents, what looks like a timeline of events stretching back months. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announces to the empty festival grounds, apparently forgetting that the area has been evacuated. "Let me tell you about the real Tom Brennan, the manipulator, the schemer, the man who seduced an innocent woman just to get access to her family's money." She's completely detached from reality now, lost in her own version of events where I'm the villain and she's the hero exposing my crimes. "Sloane," I say, stepping closer to the stage, "none of that is true, and you know it." "Liar!" She pulls something from her jacket, a gun, small but threatening looking. "Stay back, I'm not finished." I freeze, raising my hands to show I'm not a threat. Around the perimeter, I know Martinez's officers are adjusting their positions, but they can't risk a shot with me this close. "You want to know what really happened?" Sloane continues, waving the gun erratically. "Tom Brennan targeted Cora Blackwood because he knew she was weak, knew she'd do anything for approval. He manipulated her into embezzling money, convinced her to cover for Miles's gambling, then pretended to be the innocent victim when it all came out. The irony would be funny if there wasn't a gun involved. She's accusing me of the exact crimes she committed, rewriting history to make herself the hero. That's not what happened, and everyone knows it," I say calmly. "The evidence speaks for itself. Evidence can be faked, stories can be changed, but the truth, the real truth, is that you're a parasite who destroys everything he touches." She's spiraling now, her grip on the gun becoming more erratic. I need to end this before someone gets hurt. "You're right," I say, surprising her. "What?" "You're absolutely right. I am a destroyer. I destroyed your perfect little world where you could manipulate people without consequences. I destroyed the system that let you blackmail your friends and ruin reputations for sport. I destroyed the comfortable lie that money and status make you better than everyone else." Her face contorts with rage. "You arrogant. But here's what I didn't destroy, Sloane. I didn't destroy you. You did that all by yourself." The words hit her like a physical blow. For a moment, the gun wavers, and I see a flash of the broken person underneath all the anger and delusion. "I was somebody," she whispers. "I mattered." "You still matter," I tell her. "But not the way you think. You matter to Jake, who's been worried sick about you. You matter to the people whose lives you could still turn around if you got help. You matter as a human being, not as a social media influencer or charity board member." The gun drops to her side, and for a moment, I think I've reached her. Then her expression hardens again. "Pretty words," she says, "but it's too late for pretty words." She raises the gun again, but this time she points it at herself. "Sloane, no." The shot echoes across the empty festival grounds, but it's not from her gun. It's from a police sniper who put a round through her shoulder, spinning her around and sending the weapon flying. She collapses on the stage, screaming in pain and rage, while paramedics and police officers swarm the area. As they load her into an ambulance, she's still ranting about conspiracies and lies, completely disconnected from reality. Jake arrives as the ambulance pulls away, his face gray with shock and grief. "She'll get help now," I tell him. "Real help, not just lawyers and damage control." He nods numbly. I should have seen it coming. The paranoia, the obsession with social status, the way she talked about you and Cora. I should have known she was sick. You couldn't have prevented this. Mental illness doesn't work that way. We stand in silence for a moment, watching the festival grounds slowly return to normal as vendors pack up their damaged booths and families head home. What happens now? Jake asks. Now we all figure out how to move forward, I say. Some of us will do better than others. Sunday morning arrives with the kind of brilliant sunshine that makes yesterday's chaos feel like a bad dream. I'm sitting on Jenna's back porch, drinking coffee, and reading the newspaper coverage of what reporters are already calling the Millbrook meltdown. The headlines tell the story in stark black and white. Local socialite arrested after festival standoff. Corruption scandal rocks New England town. From riches to ruin, the fall of Millbrook's elite. But the real story isn't in the headlines. It's in the smaller details. The community coming together to help festival vendors whose booths were damaged. The school board announcing new transparency measures for construction contracts. The country club implementing stricter financial oversight procedures. Change is coming to Millbrook, and for the first time in months, it feels like positive change. My phone rings. It's Officer Martinez. Thought you'd want to know. Sloan Morrison is being transferred to a psychiatric facility for evaluation. Her lawyer's already talking about a mental health defense. What about the charges? Arson, terroristic threatening, reckless endangerment, illegal possession of a firearm? She's looking at serious time, but given her mental state, she'll probably end up in treatment rather than prison. I find myself hoping that's true. Whatever Sloan did to me, watching someone's complete psychological breakdown isn't something I'd wish on anyone. Any word on Miles and Howard? Patterson's cooperating with the feds, trying to work out a plea deal. Blackwood's fighting the charges, but with the evidence you and your sister gathered, his lawyers are basically rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. After Martinez hangs up, I sit back and try to process everything that's happened. 6 months ago, I was a small-town carpenter, engaged to a successful architect, planning a quiet life in the community where I grew up. Now I'm the guy who exposed a corruption scandal that destroyed half the local power structure. The question is, what comes next? Jenna emerges from the house with her own cup of coffee and the morning edition of the Boston Globe. My story has made the regional news, complete with photos from last night's standoff. "You're famous," she says, settling into the chair beside me. Infamous, more like. I'm not sure that's a good thing for someone trying to run a small business. Are you kidding? My phone's been ringing all morning with interview requests. CNN wants to do a segment on small-town corruption. The Washington Post is interested in the social media angle, how Sloan used Facebook and gossip networks to destroy reputations. I shake my head. I don't want to be the poster child for revenge stories. Then don't be. Be the poster child for standing up to bullies, for fighting back when people try to destroy you, for proving that regular folks can take on the establishment and win. Before I can respond, a car pulls into Jenna's driveway. It's Jake Morrison looking like he's aged 10 years overnight. "Tom," he says as he approaches the porch, "I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" "Jake, I'm the reason your wife is in a psychiatric ward." "No. You're the reason she's getting help instead of spiraling deeper into whatever was eating her alive." He sits on the porch steps, suddenly looking exhausted. "I've been thinking about it all night, trying to figure out when things went wrong. The truth is, Sloan's been getting worse for years. The obsession with social status, the need to control everyone around her, the paranoia. I kept making excuses, telling myself it was just stress or middle age or whatever." He looks up at me with eyes that have seen too much. "You didn't cause her breakdown, Tom. You just forced it into the open where it could be dealt with." We sit in comfortable silence for a while, 3 people trying to make sense of a senseless situation. "What will you do now?" I ask Jake. "Divorce proceedings are already started. I'll make sure she gets the best treatment possible, but I can't live with someone who's that far gone." He stands up, suddenly looking more determined. "I'm thinking about leaving Millbrook, starting over somewhere new." too many ghosts here. After Jake leaves, Jenna and I spend the rest of the morning fielding phone calls from reporters, curiosity seekers, and potential clients. Word has apparently spread that I'm the carpenter who brought down the corruption ring, and several people want to hire me for projects. Looks like business is about to pick up, Jenna observes after I hang up from my 5th job inquiry of the day. Yeah, but is it the right kind of business? I don't want to be known as the revenge guy. I want to be known as someone who does good work. So do good work. Take the jobs, build beautiful things, treat people fairly. Let your reputation speak for itself. That afternoon, I drive back to my apartment to assess the damage from Friday's break-in. The landlord has already changed the locks and cleaned up most of the mess, but the place still feels violated somehow. I'm sorting through scattered papers when there's a knock at the door. Through the peephole, I see Cora standing in the hallway, looking nervous but determined. What do you want, Cora? To apologize. Really apologize. Not the half-hearted attempt I made yesterday. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She looks around the small apartment, probably the first time she's ever seen how I actually live. I brought you something, she says, pulling an envelope from her purse. It's a check for the $20,000 you invested plus interest. I take the envelope but don't open it. Where did you get this kind of money? You resigned from your firm. I sold my condo. Turns out when you strip away all the designer furniture and expensive art, it was worth more than I thought. She manages a weak smile. Funny how that works. Cora, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You invested in my future, and I threw it away for status and approval from people who never really cared about me. The least I can do is pay you back. She moves toward the door, then pauses. For what it's worth, Tom, you were the best thing that ever happened to me. I was just too stupid and scared to realize it. After she leaves, I sit on my couch holding the check and thinking about second chances. Some people get them, some people don't, and some people wouldn't know what to do with them if they came gift-wrapped. Monday morning, I wake up to find a news van parked outside my building. A perky reporter with perfect hair is standing next to it, apparently waiting for me to emerge. I consider climbing out the fire escape, but that seems cowardly. Instead, I get dressed, grab my tool belt, and walk out the front door like it's any other day. Mr. Brennan, Channel 7 News, can we get a comment about your role in exposing the Millbrook corruption scandal? I'm a carpenter, I tell her, walking toward my truck. I build things. Sometimes that means tearing down what's broken first. Are you planning to write a book? Do a movie deal? I stop and look at her, really look at her. She's young, probably fresh out of journalism school, just trying to do her job. You want a story? I ask. Here's your story. Sometimes ordinary people get pushed too far, and when that happens, they push back. There's nothing glamorous about it, nothing Hollywood. It's just people standing up for themselves when the system fails them. I climb into my truck and drive away, leaving her to figure out whether that's enough for a news segment. The Henderson job is waiting for me. Crown molding installation in their dining room. Simple, honest work that will make their house more beautiful. As I measure and cut each piece, I find myself thinking about the difference between building and destroying. For months, I've been focused on tearing down the people who hurt me. And I succeeded. Maybe too well. But destruction is easy. Any fool with a sledgehammer can knock down a wall. Building something that lasts, something beautiful, something that makes the world a little better, that takes skill, patience, and vision. Mrs. Henderson brings me coffee around 10 o'clock, along with a plate of homemade cookies. I hope you know how proud we are of you, she says. What you did took real courage. I'm not sure courage is the right word, more like stubbornness. Sometimes they're the same thing. She watches me work for a moment. You know, we have friends in Boston who are looking for a good carpenter. High-end residential work, the kind that pays well and looks good in a portfolio. I appreciate that, Mrs. Henderson, but I'm not sure I'm ready to leave Millbrook. Why not? After everything that's happened, wouldn't a fresh start be appealing? I consider her question while fitting a particularly tricky corner joint. Maybe, but running away feels like admitting defeat. Besides, this town needs good people more than ever. If everyone with integrity leaves, what's left? She nods approvingly. That's exactly what I hoped you'd say. Tuesday brings more media attention and more job inquiries. I turn down most of the interview requests, but accept several of the work offers. By the end of the week, I'm booked solid through Christmas. The jobs are different now. Bigger projects, better clients, higher pay. Word has spread that I'm reliable, skilled, and honest. In a town where trust has become a rare commodity, those qualities are suddenly very valuable. Friday evening, I'm having dinner at O'Malley's when Officer Martinez slides into the booth across from me. Thought you'd want to know. Miles Patterson took a plea deal today. 5 years federal prison, restitution to his victims, and cooperation with the ongoing investigation. What about Howard? Still fighting, but his lawyers are starting to make noise about a plea. The evidence is overwhelming, and the feds want to make an example of him. Martinez orders a beer and studies my face. How are you holding up? This kind of attention can be overwhelming. I'm managing. Staying busy helps. Any regrets about how things played out? I think about that for a moment. Do I regret destroying people's lives, even people who tried to destroy mine first? I regret that it was necessary, I finally say. I regret that people I trusted turned out to be capable of such cruelty. But I don't regret standing up for myself. Fair enough. Martinez raises his beer in a mock toast. To standing up for yourself. To building something better from the wreckage. The following week brings an unexpected visitor to my job site. I'm installing custom shelving in a home library when the homeowner tells me someone's asking for me. I walk outside to find Howard Blackwood standing beside a black sedan, looking like a shadow of his former self. His expensive suit hangs loose on his diminished frame, and his silver hair has gone completely gray. Tom, he says, his voice lacking its usual commanding tone. I was hoping we could talk. About what? Your federal indictment? Your son-in-law's gambling debts? Or maybe you want to reminisce about that charming dinner party where you called me a gold digger? He flinches at the reminder. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. Yes, you do. My lawyers think I should take a plea deal. 5 to 7 years, forfeit most of my assets, public disgrace. He looks older than his 65 years. Everything I built, everything I worked for, gone. And you're telling me this because I want you to know that you won. Completely, thoroughly won. I hope that brings you some satisfaction. I study his face, looking for signs of manipulation or hidden agenda. But all I see is a broken old man facing the consequences of his choices. It doesn't, I tell him honestly. Watching people destroy themselves isn't as satisfying as I thought it would be. He nods, perhaps understanding something he hadn't before. For what it's worth, Tom, you were never the problem. The problem was that you made us see ourselves clearly, and we didn't like what we saw. He gets back in his sedan and drives away, leaving me standing in the driveway with more questions than answers. That evening, I call Jenna and tell her about Howard's visit. Sounds like he's finally taking responsibility, she says. That's something, at least. Is it enough? That's not for you to decide, Tom. You expose the truth. What people do with that truth is up to them. She's right, of course. I can't control how this story ends for everyone involved. I can only control my own choices, my own future. Speaking of futures, Jenna continues, I got a call from a publisher today. They want to talk to you about a book deal. Not interested? Tom, this could be a real opportunity. Your story has everything. Corruption, revenge, redemption. It could help people in similar situations. My story isn't over yet. How can I write the ending when I don't know what it is? 2 months later, winter has settled over Millbrook like a clean, white blanket, covering the scars left by autumn's revelations. The festival grounds have been repaired, the damaged businesses have reopened, and life has settled into a new normal. I'm busier than I've ever been with projects booked into the spring. The quality of my work hasn't changed, but the quality of my clients has improved dramatically. Word has spread that I'm someone who can be trusted, and in a town still recovering from a trust crisis, that reputation is worth more than gold. The legal proceedings continue to grind forward. Miles is serving his sentence at a minimum security federal facility, reportedly doing well in the prison woodworking program. Howard finally took a plea deal and will spend the next 6 years in federal prison. Sloan remains in a psychiatric facility, making slow progress toward mental stability. And Cora? She moved to Portland, where she's working for a small architectural firm that specializes in affordable housing. According to mutual friends, she seems happier than she's been in years. As for me, I'm sitting in my new office, a small space above the hardware store that I've converted into a proper business headquarters, reviewing plans for my biggest project yet, a community center to replace the old warehouse where my confrontation with Sloan, Miles, and Cora took place. The irony isn't lost on me. The building where I orchestrated their downfall will become a place where the community comes together to build something positive. My phone rings. It's Mrs. Henderson with another referral, a family in Boston who wants custom built-ins for their historic brownstone. Tom, she says, they specifically asked for the carpenter who cleaned up Millbrook. Your reputation is spreading. After I hang up, I lean back in my chair and look out the window at the town square, where workers are setting up for the winter festival. Life goes on, people adapt, communities heal. I think about the man I was 6 months ago, angry, humiliated, focused on revenge. That man got what he wanted. The people who wronged him paid a heavy price for their cruelty and corruption. But somewhere along the way, that man became someone else. Someone who builds instead of destroys. Someone who creates beauty instead of chaos. Someone who looks forward instead of backward. The phone rings again. Another job. Another chance to make something better than what was there before. I answer it with a smile. Brennan Construction. How can I help you build something beautiful? Outside my window, snow begins to fall on Millbrook, covering everything in pristine white. A clean slate, a fresh start, a chance to build something better from the foundation up. And for the first time in months, that feels like enough.